All right, fantastic. Happy to be here. There is a lot to this Houzz Pro tool bag, and the Academy is a really exciting way to take a deep dive into all of it. So we will go ahead and start with all of the bases, cover some account setup things, go over the general navigation, and then start to dive into some of the specific tools as we go. Some of the things that we're going to cover today, specifically as we kind of go through our tour, we're going to be talking about how do we add members of our team and get set up with working with subcontractors, how we send out those invitations, how do we integrate our calendar and our QuickBooks. If we are integrating with QuickBooks Online, that's something that the Houzz Pro software does, getting set up to receive online payments, making sure our taxes are in line as we're managing our business through this, and then doing some of that lead management and tracking, how to source it, how to put proper sources to these leads to be able to stay organized as a business. And then finally, we'll cover some effective strategies for using our email marketing tool. That is a really useful tool for a lot of our businesses. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Here we are on my Houzz Pro dashboard. Now, this is the digital filing cabinet for my business. As I manage my business and all of its different aspects, this is where I'm spending most of my time. Just to get a quick lay of the land here, I kind of have a different drawer for each aspect of my filing cabinet along the top. A folder for ongoing projects, leads that I'm working on converting to projects, a manage folder for being able to manage the different aspects of some of my business, a marketing folder as well. We'll dive into this a little bit more specifically, and then a little bit of general knowledge about our some of the aspects of our Houzz account, and also that useful help tab that we'll talk about in a little while. But before we dive into those drawers specifically, we're going to go over to the right-hand side, because what we want to do is we want to get set up and integrate our business details into this software. So it's going to be useful for us as we start to send documents, manage clients, and those kinds of things. So what I do is I hover over my business icon here, and I'm going to go down to the third tab here, the settings tab. This is where I can see all the different ways that I can customize this software to be integrated with my business specifically. And we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So this account info, this is the kind of the user admin's thumbprint to be able to log on and utilize this Houzz Pro dashboard. Coming down a little bit further, we have our profile set up. This would be the digital billboard of your software. If you were utilizing this to be able to be client facing, you can customize your profile in a lot of different ways to make a good portfolio for your business that shows up on Houzz rather than Houzz Pro. We're living in Houzz Pro today. The subscriptions area, this is where I can see the breakdown of my software package itself. This is the Builder Solution software. That's what we're working on, all these business management tools here. And this is where we get into some of the fun ways that we can add our team to be able to collaborate on this software. So adding team members, you can see I've been on this software for a while. I have a lot of team members that are working with me here. And I have two different tabs. I can toggle between my team members that are on the software and my subcontractors or vendors that I have added in here as well. Now, to be able to add team members, to be able to work on this, what I would do on the right-hand side here is I would click that invite team member button, and I would put in their first name and last name. I can't even spell my own name. There we go. And I would put in an email address for them. And I could also send this invitation for them to create their own portal via text as well. And then I would click next. I would assign a role to this team member. Maybe they're a project manager or a team member. You can create your own custom roles as well. And then you're going to set the visibility for what this team member is going to be able to see whenever they are using this software. You can allow them to see the leads folder. They would be able to manage those leads. You could choose if they want to be able to communicate with those clients, do things like send estimates and takeoffs. You can set their visibility for the projects as well. As far as the project management goes, once again, in that projects folder, they would be able to communicate with those clients if you chose to, be able to do things like sending estimates, creating those invoices and change orders, also sending purchase orders. If you wanted them to see the financial side of things as well, you could do that. You could give them access to the QuickBooks integration to be able to manually sync or check on those automatically synced documents, be able to check on the reporting, and also being able to access and manage those time and expenses for your business as well, found in the manage folder and on those projects. And then you would send
out. Mitchell moves ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. If anybody has a question, there's a Q&A tab off to the right. Type your questions in there rather than the actual chat window. the chat window gets a little noisy when you guys get going and asking real questions. So put it in the Q&A tab off to the right, and we'll make sure they get prioritized and answered. Sorry to interrupt you, Mitchell. Keep going.
Perfect. Thanks for the guidance, Cameron. There's plenty of activity in the chat, I see. Okay, perfect. So once I've entered that team member's info and I have set the visibility of what I want them to be able to manage here on the platform, it's going to send off that invitation for them, and it's going to prompt them whenever they click on that invitation. It's going to ask them to create their own login. It will create their login. Their username will be the email address that you send that invitation to, and it will create their own unique password. So that will be their thumbprint, their identity, and they can log in. They will have a very similar view to what you see here, but the difference between a team member and an admin, the admin is the account owner. The admin is able to modify a lot of the account settings. So there's going to be a little bit more detail as far as the settings tab here. But there will be a projects tab, leads tab, a little bit more concise manage tab here for that team member, depending on what the visibility settings that you selected are going to be. Now, as far as adding a subcontractor to be able to collaborate on those projects, and this is a little sneak peek at what we're going to be going into tomorrow as well, because once you are working on a project with a client, you can invite subcontractors to collaborate on that job, and they can see things. You can share timelines with them. They can post daily logs. You can assign tasks to them. Kind of the sky is the limit there, and we'll dive a little bit further into that tomorrow. But I would invite them in the same way. Instead of saying invite team member now, I see this invite subcontractor or vendor. I would enter in their first and last name. It will ask if they are a subcontractor or a vendor here. The vendors are going to be useful for whenever you're creating and sending those purchase orders, whenever you're managing those projects. So that would be the purpose of being able to add your vendor information to be able to keep track of it all in here as well.
And remind us, what's the difference in a subcontractor / vendor and a full team member?
Great question. So a team member is a member of our internal team for our business that is able to see all of the projects. If you've selected them to see all the projects, they can also work on leads. Subcontractors, however, need to be invited to individual projects to be able to collaborate on. So they actually will be sent this invitation to be a collaborator with you, and then you can invite them to specific projects. So I think actually if I go to one of these, if I hover over a subcontractor, for example, and I click on the ellipses here, I can click edit next to this one. I can see that they already have the permissions selected here. I could change their information if I wanted to, but I can also see what projects I have given them access to. And you send this invitation actually at the project level itself. So team members, they see all of the projects. Subcontractors, they will see projects that you invite them to, but they also will not be able to see any financials related to that project. Great question. Thank you, Cameron. Okay, so as we move down further here, our next tab on our settings area is going to be the business documents tab. This business documents tab is going to be useful as we start to create things like documents as far as change orders, invoices, estimates. This is the branded information that is going to appear on those documents. So you can upload your business logo here. So it'll appear kind of as a letterhead on that documentation as well. This grayed out information actually syncs with the information that is displayed on your profile for your billing info. So if you were to edit this, all you would do is come back up to profile setup, and you would click it, edit profile settings, to modify that business information there. However, you see we have some other tabs back down in the business documents area here that we can modify as well. If I wanted to input shipping addresses for the purpose of projects, I could enter in shipping addresses here to be able to be used on purchase orders and things like that later. And also, I have this accounting tab. This is where I'm going to be able to set up those tax agencies so I can apply taxes to the documents that I send. This is a very easy thing to do. You can also do this at the estimate level. We'll show you how to do that on our lesson tomorrow. But to create a sales tax that will apply to your documents, you would just click add sales tax. It's most common to put in the, you'll need to name this, most common to put in the city here. So I'm from Fayetteville. Let's put in Fayetteville. You'll put in that tax rate, and then let's just put county, so I don't have to type in city, and click save. Now that will be added here. If this is one that you're going to be using as a default on most of your projects, you can also hover over this and you can set it as a default. You can also archive agencies that you no longer use to be able to keep this nice and organized here. Okay, so moving down to our next one. Similarly to the business documents area, whenever we send these invoices to clients, we want to be able to receive payments from these clients as well. And Houzz has partnered up with an organization called Stripe to be able to process credit card payments and bank transfers. So this is a very easy way to set up. All you do is click Get Started here, and it will send a verification link to your email address to go ahead and go through the steps to get started. It's very fast to be able to set up. If you have a business account that you're going to be linking this with, you will need your bank account number, your routing number, and your EIN number. If this is a personal account, you would need the last four of your social instead of that EIN number. But it's a fast and easy way. What we aimed for whenever we set this online payment system up is dependability and reliability. So this is the same thing that Amazon uses, Google uses. A lot of the major players will utilize this because it's a consistent way to be able to get paid in about a day as far as that processing goes. And whenever you set this up, there is a 3.1% credit card processing fee, and there is a 1% processing fee for the ACH bank transfer. But you can see it's very small on this screen, but there will be a checkbox whenever you set this up to offset the transaction fee to the client. So that processing fee is not something that you would swallow the cost of. So if you had online payments set up, you could quickly create an invoice, send it over to them, and depending on how they elected to pay, it would apply that processing fee in kind. Do we have any questions about the taxes or the online payments setup before we move on?
I don't see any from the floor,
like
but
good to go. Great.
Let's do it one more time. Anybody have questions about online payments, how it works, how to set it up? What I like about this is it's how everyone pays everything else in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. I rarely carry my wallet because it's all connected to my phone. Now maybe I'm just a person that lives on the West Coast. And I do that, but your clients are most likely already paying with online stuff anyway. So what it does is you get paid quicker. That's the bottom line. You get your operating capital in your bank, you get your team paid, and then you can start buying materials for your project. Some people get concerned about the fee, and what I'll say about that is you can. Some of the bigger contractors and designers I work with, they bake the fee into their margin, or they spread it across their markup in some other way. So they just don't show it to the homeowner. Of course, the homeowner ends up paying for it, but they just don't see it as a line item. So I can share a Help Center article about how to do that if you're concerned about it, but it really does mean you get paid in like a couple of days instead of waiting for checks in the mail and whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. And to your point there, Cameron, I know that a lot of professionals, maybe you require a deposit to be able to get started with the job, or you need an initial payment to get started with the job. And I've had pros in the past who it's taken weeks to be able to get in contact with a client to be able to actually get that check or receive that payment from them. And it takes a long time, longer than it should, to be able to actually start that job. But I've had some, whenever they transition over to this software and start using this, jobs that have been held up for a month that they've been waiting on the funds to be able to start up for, they got that payment in a day or two and they were able to get to work. So it's really nice and really convenient. And I do see just a few questions in the Q&A section here. We will have some time at the end for questions as well. But I see, Nathaniel, your question about can they pay using their Venmo account? They actually, you can receive that if you have a Venmo account. They can pay you through that Venmo account, and you can log different types of payments on your documents. So say they didn't pay via credit card or via bank transfer here through Houzz, you can log all kinds of different payments. And they'll actually get into that a little bit more whenever we go over the project management flow tomorrow. But if you receive payment through cash, through check, through Venmo, maybe Zelle, a lot of those other things, you can accurately log all of those payments and see that payment breakdown. So that was a great question there. And I see one from Emily as well. Do you have plans to give us the choice to offset one fee but not the other? That is a great question. And there actually are ways to edit whenever you convert this a lead over to a project. You can, in those project details, you can customize the payment settings for each type of project. And so maybe you wanted them to be able to pay via credit card, but not via bank transfer. You could uncheck a box for bank transfer. You can choose to go back and forth to toggle that that processing fee box off of there. So you can still make those changes. You can make those edits in the future on a project basis if you want to. So great question, Emily. And we'll probably be able to go through that on the project settings area tomorrow. So let's move on down here to some of our last tabs as well. The one that I'm going to go ahead and just skip to here. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at our communication. These are our communication settings. This is actually the ability for you to create an out-of-office response. So say you want to be able to be responsive to your clients, but you know you're going to be out of pocket for a week or so. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you're booked out. You can set this out-of-office response, and it will automatically respond to anybody that's reaching out to you using the messaging feature on Houzz. The integrations area is where we can start to integrate some of the information for our QuickBooks account, for our bookkeeping, and also our calendar to be able to schedule meetings or consultations with our prospective clients as we're working on converting those jobs. So we do everything on Houzz here. It does integrate automatically with QuickBooks Online. And to be able to set up that integration process, it's a pretty straightforward 4-step process here. And we do have a nice article to walk you through each sub-step of each one of these steps to make it nice and streamlined for you. The first thing you would do is you would set up that tax agency. So some of this is done on the QuickBooks side, some of it is done on the Houzz side. And so what we would do, we would first set up our tax agency. Then we would go back over to our QuickBooks and we would turn off the automations so that it doesn't inadvertently get duplicated or wrongly applied to anything. And that one-way synchronizing from Houzz Pro works in a streamlined way. Then we would turn on our purchase orders allowances. So if we do have QuickBooks Plus, those purchase orders will sync in as well. And then finally, we'll do the mapping to be able to show QuickBooks what's coming from Houzz and where we want it to go over on our QuickBooks side. And there are some really great how-to articles for each one of these. And this is also a really solid tutorial video here. We want to give you as much resources as needed to be able to make this a nice and streamlined process for you. A couple notes about the QuickBooks integration here. It is a one-way integration. And so everything that you do on Houzz Pro will integrate over into QuickBooks. It doesn't go reverse. So things that you do in QuickBooks do not integrate backwards into Houzz. That's one thing that we want to keep in mind while we're doing this. But whenever you do integrate, all of those documents will automatically sync over. And if there are ever any documents that you have questions about, did they sync, did they not sync, you can actually go back to this integrations area here, and you would be able to see any documents that weren't synced, and you can manually sync any document from Houzz over to QuickBooks. And then actually, before we jump into the calendar, if you were to have a question about getting QuickBooks set up or syncing information, what you can do, this help tab is very useful for a lot of the processing, a lot of the scenarios that are on Houzz Pro. And there are help center articles here. But what you can also do is you can submit a support ticket. You can select a topic. And I believe QuickBooks Online is a topic here, so that you can put in the nature of that request, and our product support team can help you get to the root of whatever that issue may be. Now, for our calendar integration, this is very useful for being able to this is very useful for being able to send meetings or to share our calendar availability with clients for different types of meetings. So what we can do, my calendar is actually already integrated here, but the Houzz Pro software, it integrates with all of our major digital calendar types. And it's as easy as clicking the Add Calendar button here. You select the type of calendar. Maybe it's a Google Calendar, an Apple Calendar, 8x8. And then you'll put in the login credentials for that, and it will link the availability based on what your calendar has available for the different types of meetings that you set up. After you link that calendar, what you can do is you can set up different types. There are a few default types here that you can edit the settings for. Maybe you want to send in a calendar or do a specific scheduled appointment for somebody to do a phone call. You can select this phone call and edit the settings here, and you can change the length of these as well. You can set your availability. So maybe if you're sharing your calendar link with them to be able to schedule their own phone call, they would see you're available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 p.m., for example. And whenever you share a link over with them, this is actually done from the lead itself. I'll show you where you can schedule that meeting whenever we get over to the leads folder. But it is not going to just blanket schedule over your whole calendar. If you already have appointments on your calendar that this is syncing to, it will only show the available times that they could schedule a meeting for. So what we would do after we have synced up our calendar here at the top, we would come down here and edit the settings for any other meeting types that we want to be able to add. You can also create your own meeting type. So maybe you want to do a follow-up meeting. You could create your own meeting type. You could call it follow-up here. You could set it maybe a 15-minute meeting, something like that. So you can create as many meeting types as you want. You can edit the settings for all of those. So maybe you only take phone calls in the morning, but you do on-site visits in the afternoon and so on. This is where you can customize that for your business here. Okay, so now we've really covered all of the ways that we can integrate our business here at the settings level. We've talked about adding the team members and subs. We've talked about integrating some things like our calendar, our QuickBooks organization. So let's jump over to some of the other fun things that we can do with this software now that we've done some integrating with our business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the home screen here. We could have done this straight from our settings tab, but I'm going to go into our leads folder. And if I click on leads and I just click on all leads, I can see that this is a folder. This is the area that I can keep track of all of my prospective clients. And the way that this software is designed to be optimized is the leads folder here is designed to carry a potential client all the way to the point that you have won that job. At that point, we would convert that to a project and manage it in the ongoing projects folder from there. So you can see at a quick glance, I have a lot of work that's going on in here. I have a lot of different leads, different lead types that have come through here. And I can organize these in a few ways. Our columns at the top here can be sorted. I can also use my search folder here. So maybe I'm looking for a job for a particular client that I was working on. I can just search that and I can find that project for Lil there, that lead that I'm working on as well. I can also filter these by source as well. So I can keep track of where I'm at in the conversation with this client. If I click on this lead status here, I can also do this within the lead itself, but you can see that we have some stages to be able to keep this organized. We can see if this is a new lead that I just added or I created. I can see maybe I followed up with this person, but I haven't yet connected with them. Maybe I did connect with them, or maybe I scheduled a meeting with them, all the way up to the point that I have sent an estimate. And if I click into this, actually, before we click in and look at one of these leads, I can add leads of my very own to be able to manage from outside of the Houzz platform. So if I click on the add leads button on the top right corner here, I can see I can manually create a new lead. I could import from a file. So this is, say you have, you've been keeping track of your leads on a separate spreadsheet for a while. What you can do, there is a template to be able to import those leads into here. You do need to be very specific about how you enter the information into that template. Those columns have to be correct and even capitalized correctly. But you can just click on this template right here, and it will be able to download, so you can see an example of what all of those need to be formatted as to be able to upload in here. And this is a CSV upload. So maybe you're using it in Excel. Go ahead and you can just save that as CSV, and you'll be able to upload and import those leads from here. You can also import from an email. You can just copy this email and forward that lead that came in from the email over there to be able to get the details from that in there. Or you could manually create a new lead. You would need to put in a client for this lead to be able to tie it to a client. You can create your existing client as well. You can put in all of the information for that client. You can also you'll need to name the lead, and you can put in a lot of details for that lead as well.
Can you create custom lead stages here? Emily wanted to know.
As far as lead stages. So we cannot customize the lead stage past what we have in here. The way that we keep it, that you can keep it organized, are through these pre-built stages here. Past that, there are some other things that we can do as far as keeping track of the notes. We can assign these to specific project managers to be able to keep a little bit more detailed track and organization here. But those lead stages between new and estimate sent are the ones we have to be able to organize this at this point in time. Great question.
And can you filter them? Can you filter your leads by stage? You know, like
you can,
cold, followed up, whatnot.
Yeah. If we look over on the left-hand side here, this is kind of our organizational tool to be able to sort through our leads folder. So if I wanted to see what leads I have followed up with, but I haven't yet scheduled a meeting with, I could sort by followed up here. I could sort by leads that I have sent an estimate for. I can also see all the leads that I have won. Now, these are usually going to be converted over and in the projects folder, but I can still see those leads here that I have won as well. So you do have kind of that extra one. Once we click the convert to project button within the lead, you'll still have that tab here. But if I were trying to sort by those, just to maybe filter through the ones that I need to schedule for a meeting or something like that, what I would do is I would come up here and I'd select on the left-hand side. Great question. So if I am adding this lead, I've entered in my client's information. I'm filling out some details about my lead. I can name this lead to be able to keep it organized in my list here. I see very commonly, it might be common to put the lead name as maybe a street address or something like that. Or maybe it's the deck remodeling project for Jerry or something like that. This is up to you in the way that you want to organize that, but you can also create and manage your own lead sources as well. We do have some default ones as well here, but you can manage your own lead sources. Maybe you can, you wanted to get a little bit more detailed as far as what kind of referral it was. You can create those as well to be able to keep it.
That out, Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Emily had another question about this. Look, if it sounds like her business has more than one email that receives leads. So does the forwarded email work, or is there a way that you recommend managing leads when you have more than one person doing it, or more than one email that receives the leads?
Let's see. We have more than one email that receives leads. Let's see. If you had more than one email that received leads, the best way, I want to see, Emily, I would actually like to follow up with you on this to see if there might be a way that we can do that importing with multiple email addresses as well. What you can do if you do get them from multiple places, you can always add these leads in quickly in the way that I'm adding them right here. But I want to see if I can maybe do some research on the best way from, if you do have multiple email addresses that you're getting leads from. This really is optimized to be able to have one primary lead correspondence email. So I want to do a little bit of research. I'm going to make a note to get back to you, Emily. That's a great question. Okay. Now, as far as organizing these past what we have created, we do see this lead source here. And I just outlined that we can customize those sources to be able to keep track of those. And this is a really good benefit if you want to see the breakdown of what your ROI is. And I saw your thank you. I'll definitely get back with you. Thanks, Emily. If you want to see the ROI on what am I getting in different areas of where I'm putting in the effort as far as marketing my business goes, where's the most traffic coming from as far as my leads goes, you do have this insights tab here on your leads as well. So you can see it at a quick glance. I can see I have just a small breakdown here, but if I wanted to see this in a blown up version, I can actually click on more insights and it takes me over into my marketing folder as the admin of this account. And I'm down here in my advertising insights. And this is where I can see some information about the type of leads that I'm working with. So I can see the breakdown of where everything came from. I can also see the breakdown of what stage all of these leads are in as well. Maybe if I were in that lead details area, putting in some information about the estimated revenue or the profit of this lead, I would be able to keep track of that as well. So this is a really useful area to strategically see not only where you've been, but where you are going as a business, where you want to focus your efforts as far as getting these leads here. So going back to our leads folder, let's go into one of these leads and see what we can do as far as managing it itself. So if I clicked on one of my leads here, let's click on this pantry design for Bill. I can see a few things at a glance. I have some information about different tools that I can use to manage this lead on the left here. And I have a column of information about this lead on the right. So I have my client detail up here in the top right. If I ever, maybe I started with only a little bit of information for this client as far as the contact or the location goes, and I want to add to that over time, I can click on edit here. And this is going to open up that edit lead area as well. So I can update that client's information with new or updated information too. I can also do something similar down here in the lead details area. So I can update the stage here. This is also where I would maybe assign a team member to be an owner on this project or a collaborator on this project. Now they will be able to see if you have set up the settings for them to have visibility of leads, they will still be able to see these leads, but now they will be assigned to this lead as well. I can also edit the information for the lead details here. So if I wanted to maybe put in some more information about that revenue or profit, if I wanted to assign a project type to this, I could do this as well. Maybe I got some more information about when we're going to be starting this project. This is all a great way to keep me organized as I'm getting closer to winning this job here. Okay. And if you had set up online payments already, you would not see this payment methods down at the bottom. This is just inviting me to add my bank account. Since it's a demo account, I don't have the ability to do that. So that'll live with me forever.
One question from the floor.
Yes.
Mitchell, as we move ahead, Michelle had a question about manually entering leads. So if I understand the question right, it sounds like she's wanting to know if you enter a lead that converted to a job, if you manually enter the lead that had converted to a job, does that count towards the number of Houzz hires, like on the badge on your profile?
Great question. I believe that those Houzz hires are leads that came through Houzz. And so if it were an inquiry that came from a homeowner on Houzz and you click that convert to project button here, that would be a hire. I don't believe that the leads that you add, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Cameron, you may know as well, but I don't believe that leads that you have manually added will show up on your Houzz public profile. And for those who may not know what we're referring to in Michelle's question here, if you go under your marketing profile as an account admin to your Houzz profile, this is kind of the public view of your business here. And this is the number of hires that Michelle is referring to here it's a badge that shows up. The more hires we get through Houzz, the more that this number grows here. So leads that come through Houzz and are converted will increase that number, to answer your question, Michelle. Okay, so now that we've covered the information about this lead on the right-hand side, coming back to the left-hand side, we can see some different tabs that we can use to be able to manage our interaction with this client on our journey towards winning that job. The first one is our overview page here. This is where we can just see at a quick glance a little bit of information about all the aspects from the other tabs. So maybe I can see that I texted this client asking when a good time to connect was. And our software does, based on what you're putting in here, it may suggest some things to be able to get some more information for you as well. So we've got our share our calendar or schedule a meeting here and send a questionnaire. Now, if you have not sent a message yet, you want to be able to schedule a meeting with the client, you will actually have, if you have entered in any contact info for that client, your quick create meeting button will show up at the top of your lead as well. So if I click on this, I can either share my calendar here. So it would say, do you want to share for a phone call, for whatever type of meeting that you've set up? And then you would be able to check that and you can copy that link to be able to send over to them, and they will see whatever availability you have to be able to take that phone call. Same thing with any of the others. If you wanted to schedule one yourself, you could actually schedule one and send the invitation over to that client here. Now, while we're on the topic, this questionnaire is a really cool new feature. Let me see if it's inside the lead itself. So if you do have this suggested box, you can do this. If you do want to send it to somebody, I believe you can do it from the all leads area here. You can send that manually over to the client. This is a very new feature that we have added for you guys to be able to get a little bit more information from your client that will be able to help with this upcoming project. So if I click on, I could just email it to them, or I could copy the link and drop it into maybe a message and send over to them as well. But if I wanted to view this, we don't have a lot of fields to be able to edit yet, but this is probably going to be updated quite a few times in the upcoming months, because this is a very fresh feature for you guys to be able to gather information. But you can see the information that we have started generating this questionnaire with. So there is going to be some intro text that comes with the questionnaire. You can preview the different questions that are going to go along with this questionnaire. Some of these questions you can toggle on and off as well. This is where we would be able to customize it at this point. And here's also a little bit of that information that's going to go along with that email if you were to click that email button to send out that questionnaire. So let's go back here to our leads area. Oh, let's go back in here to our pantry design. Okay. So past the overview tab, I do have messaging capabilities to be able to interact with this client and record that contact history right here in the application as well. So I can toggle between, let's see if we can, that pop-up is very cumbersome at the moment, but I can toggle between text and email. So if I have maybe added this person's phone number here, I could actually send them a text in the same way that I sent them earlier. I could also send them a message via email as well. And we know how you guys are on the go all the time. There's a lot of functionality in the mobile app to be able to use this messaging feature as well. And so you'll see that there's a templates area here where you can create your own templates to be able to quickly respond to people, even if you're in the field. And so there are a couple of quick buttons here. Maybe I'm interested in this. I could go ahead and just click that interested button and send that message off quickly. I can also create my own quick templates to be able to do that with. If I click customize templates here, and I could create a new template to be able to send my own personalized quick message as well. Everything about this software is designed to help you guys be as efficient as possible. So coming down here below the messages tab, we have a notes tab as well. This is for us to be able to keep track of all of the information about a lead at an even more detailed way than the lead details area, than the stage. We want to be able to not lose any thoughts, especially when we're juggling a lot of jobs at a time. So I can create a new note here. Just had a great conversation with the client. They said that they wanted mosaic tile, and I can record that so that I don't lose track of that thought as well. I can also do the same thing with a call log. I can record that I had a phone conversation with this person and make the notes related to that as well. The files area here is this is an open file folder for you to be able to upload any associated documents related to this lead. So maybe this is a permit, maybe this is an appliance manual, those kinds of things, images of the site. This is a great place to be able to upload all of these to be able to keep track of it. And whenever we do convert this over to a project, it is going to carry over. All of the information from our lead is going to carry over into that projects area. And once we do convert that to a project, there's even more that we can do with it from there. Like we can share certain files that we want to with clients. We can send them daily logs. That's a little bit of a sneak peek. Hopefully it builds a little bit of an excitement for tomorrow as far as what we can do once we convert these over to a project. And then these are tabs we're going to go over tomorrow as well. But ultimately, if our job is if our goal is to convert this into a job, we want to be able to send an estimate and win that estimate. So this is where we would create those custom documents to be able to send over to the client. When it does become approved, we would have this as estimate sent. When it becomes approved, we can click that convert to project button. we can put in a little bit of information about that job if we want to update the details, and then we would click convert, and it would move over to our projects folder from there. So this is a little bit about the lead management. What can I do with the client as I am going through the course of winning this job, all the way up to the point that I have won this job? Do we see any quick questions about the lead management, or do we want to go ahead and jump into some email marketing here?
Emily had a couple of questions, and then Travis had one about like, where's that customer questionnaire again? So,
oh, great.
Can you see Emily's questions?
Or do you want me to let me see if I can find them here. I do see some from Emily here. Do you have to manually add and change lead owners, or is there a way to automate who gets assigned based on lead stage? There is no automation as far as changing the owner or updating the owner based on stage. That's great feedback. I love that information there. What you would need to do is you can, whenever a stage is added, this might be also good for the team member to do as well. So maybe I have one, maybe I have a scheduler and an estimator. I can have my team member owner or be the scheduler. And then whenever that meeting is scheduled, I can have that will be kind of the to-do for that person to be able to then add the next team member to be able to control their stage as well. So there's no automation. It probably is a good best practice to go ahead and get that flow set up for your team if that's the case. But I do like that question, Emily. And then in the future, would you consider moving the questionnaire answers to a section that keeps them in a form stage instead of populating it into the message section? Yes, we are. This is really new. It's probably going to update its place within the lead and the content of that over the course of this of the rest of the months of this year. It's live on the platform now. It's almost to the point that it's a sneak preview. It is so fresh on the software here. So it probably will evolve a few times, Emily, and it may look a little bit more like what you're referring to here in the future as well. You can probably expect to see it looking differently over time. But to answer your question, Travis, about where do I find that questionnaire again, if you can see that we've kind of embedded it in our software to where it may suggest it based on what our traffic history was with the client. But if I didn't have that suggestion at this point, what I would do in the all leads area, you can click on this more actions here. And this is where your lead questionnaire is living right now. So you can send that in an email over to that client. Okay. So now I think this is a great time to jump over, speaking of emailing and interacting with this client, to talk about one of the exciting features that are on this software that a lot of people may not know about just because it doesn't live right there in the lead. But this is a great way to be able to manage your business overall. In our marketing folder here, as an admin, we have our email marketing tab. Now, before we go into this tab, I'm gonna take a quick step back and actually jump one folder over to the left to our manage folder. The reason that I'm doing this is our email marketing is a great way to send out emails to multiple clients or multiple people at a time and have those customized and tailored to be able to come from a certain aspect of your business. But first, that information does need to be here in the software, that client information. So if I wanted to, maybe you guys were keeping track of your client in a different Rolodex or on a spreadsheet or something like that, in the manage folder here, there is a clients tab that you can use to be able to quickly access all of the information of your clients. And if I wanted to maybe add a spreadsheet, now you can manually add a client from here as well, but under the options area, you can, similarly to the way that you imported leads in the leads area, you can actually import a CSV file of your existing clients to be able to utilize in that email marketing feature as well. So this might be a big time saver if you have a lot of repeat clients or you have a large client base you want to be able to communicate with. Importing this list, similarly, there is a template. Those columns do need to be in order, but you can always download that template so you know the specific order of those columns to be able to put that information in. Now that we have that little bit of information, let's carry that information with us over to the email marketing feature. and see a little bit of information that we can catch at a glance. Now, this is where we can send out email marketing campaigns and track the progress of it as we go. So we can see our first tab here. I can see a list of campaigns that I've sent, and I can see just some stats about those at a glance. I can see the number of emails that I sent. I can see the number of emails that were open, maybe the number of times a link was clicked on in the email. That's my goal. I want to share that information with them. I want to see how they respond, how responsive they are to it. Or if any were unsubscribed, I'd be able to track that as well. And the way that I advise learning about how to use this and practicing how to use this is to go from the bottom and work your way up. So the first thing we want to do, if we want to send material to certain people, we want to start in our lists area, because we're going to send this email campaign to a list of people. Down at the bottom, we have our system lists that are default created by Houzz. We have all of the clients that are tied to leads in a list. We have all of our clients overall in a list, and we would have our vendors here as well. Up here, these are lists that I have created to send out email campaigns of my own. So maybe I don't want to send it to all of my clients. Maybe I want to send it to a few to get some review requests from recent projects that I've done or something like that. You can create your own email list. Let's do a scenario where we are going to send out a newsletter. So let's call this one, it's already May. I can't believe it. Let's do May newsletter. And create that list. Now it's going to ask me to add contacts to this list. Who are we going to send this to? I can click, I have two options for the same button here. We can click it in the middle since we haven't added any yet. And let's add this from an existing list here. And I could go, I generally will go into my clients list because I know that's where all of my information is. I, as a best practice for my business, have already imported that information into that clients tab on the managed folder. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to check the box next to some of these that I guess you can see Tim McGraw is a repeat client of mine here. I've got Charlie Brown, Justin Keebler, and let's do a couple of others here. Perfect. And then we're going to click done. Now that we have made our list, we'll go back to all lists here. Now, the next thing we do, now that we know who we want to send this to, is go to our templates to see what kind of email we would like to send to them. Now, you can create a branded email of your very own from scratch here. I think for the illustrations of this, it might be better to go ahead and look at some of the pre-made templates that we can then customize, because all of the customizing features in those will be similar to the ones that we create from scratch here. And I can also see under the My Templates tab, some different templates that I have created along the way for my email campaign. So maybe I wanted to select one of those and modify it a little bit for the June newsletter or something like that. I could do that as well. But let's go to Houzz Pro Templates, and you can see that Houzz has created some to give you some guidance and direction on how to start working with this. So let's go. You can see we've got project spotlights here, newsletters, holiday greetings. This one is really useful for building up the review base on Houzz as well to help with that public profile. But let's go ahead and do our monthly news and updates here. We can take a look at what the details of this would be, just kind of previewing it. Is this a template that we want to utilize? And if it is, you can see kind of the default text in here as well. If it is, we're going to go ahead and click Create Campaign. And I'm going to, once again, May newsletter. And let's see if we have a type here for newsletter. We can also create our own types as well. And I'm going to click Create. Now I want to start molding this to be custom for what I want my customers to see. And so as that loads, we now have our private view where we can edit and customize and make this our own. So if I wanted to, you can click on any of the blocks here that are already populated to be able to customize anything about that. So maybe I want to put my logo on here. I can click on that block, then I can upload, and I can put my logo in here. You guys can't see I probably can't see the pop-up that I am pulling from, but I can put that logo on there as well. Maybe I want to change that from a default picture to a picture of my own, or I wanted to use a stock image. I can upload that image here, or I can choose from some stock photos that are on here as well. You can customize the text here. Any buttons that are on here as well. So our find out more button, you can put in, maybe this is going to be a link to your website. Maybe it's a link to an online store that you want people to buy products from. Everything on here is customizable to be able to reflect what you want it to reflect here. Now, if you wanted to add in information that you don't see to be able to customize on here, this is where all of our navigation block on the right-hand side is going to become really useful. So I can see content that I can drag and drop into existing blocks. If I wanted to add some new space to be able to put some of that content in, I'd come down here to the blocks area, and let's just drag one of these in here. And then I could customize this as well. So I could format this. I could make the background, the text, all of this different. But then I could come back up here. Maybe I want to put a button in here for my website. And I want to put in a menu here for to be able to put some lists in. So we're customizing this as we go along. And we kind of work our way down here. So if I wanted to put some images in here, I could search from that stock image gallery as well. If I wanted to upload any files to be associated with this, I could do that as well. And so we've been working on this. We can update our text here. This is about the way we want it to look. And this last tab right here on the right-hand side is going to be a very handy tab. This is our audit tab. So if I click on this, I can see that there are anything that wouldn't work well if I were a homeowner looking at this, it's going to show me before I send it over. So it's saying that you've got some buttons on here that don't have links in them. So it will show you all of the buttons. You can go in and add those links there. Anything that's missing alternate text. So people who are using text readers would be able to see the description as well as kind of the caption related to each photo. And so you can keep working on that. It does a great job of making sure that this email that you're going to be sending is perfect for everybody that's reading it. So now I've finished customizing this. I've done all the work as far as correcting it that I want to do. Now I can either add that to my templates to be able to save and send out in the future, or I can click continue to send. And this is where we're going to preview this, put in who we want to send it to, and then send off a test email. So first, whenever you're making your first email campaign, it's going to ask you to connect your email. Now you can add any email that you want to in here, even if it's not the primary email that you have on file. Maybe you have an info at for your company or something like that newsletters would be sent out from, or you want a specific correspondence. You can always connect any email address that you want to this email campaign. Step number 2 is going to be to send to those recipients. We already made that list, so I already know who I want to send it to. I could send it to multiple lists if I wanted to. Step 3 is going to be the email details. We'll put in our subject line here, May newsletter. The pre-header here. We found a great way to save roofing costs. This is what's going to be that previewed line whenever an email shows up in somebody's inbox. And then you can send a test email. You can send this to yourself. You can send it up to 5 other people as well, just to make sure that it looks the way you want it to before you send that to all of your clients. And then you can send that test email.
Hey Mitchell, can you upload the newsletter to a Facebook page, or would you have to copy and paste the link yourself?
You would need to copy and paste the link to yourself. You can't upload it, but you can actually I know this is not the purpose of the question, but you can actually link all of your social media accounts within the email itself here as well. So if I went back to edit here.
So I think that gets to your question, Penny, around can you make a really pretty newsletter and get it onto your Facebook account?
Yes, that would be there's not an embedding feature for this email as far as putting this straight onto the Facebook account. But a lot of this information, you could, if you maybe sent it to yourself or you copied that link, you could copy and paste it onto your Facebook page in a post to be able to show as well. And down here at the bottom of a lot of our emails, you see that there are all of that block for the social media. You can add a lot of unique social media blocks here as well, and you can put your information in here. Now, I think I can't remember. I think you said maybe it was Penny that asked that question. As far as putting things onto Facebook or some of your social medias, those, if maybe you wanted to share some of the work it's doing to your social media that you had on your Houzz account, that would be done from the profile itself. Now, I know this is a newsletter, not a project, but maybe you wanted to send over to post some pictures of a new project that you guys had completed or something like that. From your public profile, you can create a project album with the description and all of titles and all of those kinds of things, and you can share those to other social medias. I would say as far as social media integration goes, that would be the area of Houzz that does integrate with social media. Not as much the email marketing, but the profile itself is a little bit more similar for that. So let's go back over to our send here. I've sent this test email to myself. I like what I see. So now I'm going to click send campaign, and it's going to give one more safety net before we send this off. Let's see. Might be taking me a little while to load here. Oh, I need to add those recipients back in. There we go. Now let's try and send that campaign. Okay, so it's going to give me one more little safety net just to make sure I know who I'm sending it to. I know if there are any problems. It's going to say it will not send it to any duplicates. So if I mistakenly added a couple of clients in there, it will only send one email to that email address. And it's also telling me that 2 of my recipients are not going to be included because they actually don't have email addresses entered for their information. So if you wanted to go back and update that information before you send it out, you can do so. And then I click send now, and it's going to be generating that. Now it's in my list of sent campaigns, and I can track all of the information related to that email campaign as well. So this is a really great tool. People have a lot of fun with this. You can use it for a lot of different aspects of your business. But this is kind of how I would get started as far as generating a list, customizing my own template, and then sending out that campaign after I've previewed it and made sure that it was good to go. Okay, and those are the items that we wanted to cover today. So I would love to see, I know that I've been monologuing for a little while. I imagine there are probably some questions out there. Let's see if we can get to some of those questions now that we've covered our items today.
Well, let's ask the floor. Anybody got questions you want answered? We are here for you and anything you want to know about the stuff we covered today. I'm going to go find the link to the sessions tomorrow and Wednesday. Or pardon me, tomorrow and Thursday. But throw your questions in the Q&A and we'll get to them. Carol will get you a link we'll get you a link to the recording afterwards.
Are we able to send newsletters to non-Houzz members? That is a great question, Nico. And you absolutely can. People who do not have a Houzz account, they can be added as clients as well. So what I would do, if this were somebody, maybe this is a lead that I got outside of Houzz, maybe this was a client list that was not related to Houzz in any way. What I would do to be able to include them in a campaign, the first thing that I want to do is add them as a client. Now, this can be done either from the system list here. Let's see if I can add a client from the system list here. Perfect. So whenever I go into my email marketing and I click on that system list for clients, I can add a new contact here. And I can import my spreadsheet here as well. I could import from Gmail, but I could create a new contact here. And so I could put in the name, the email address, the phone number, all of the information here. And so this is going to be stored for the purposes of sending out these emails. And it will also be stored in the clients area on my managed folder. So I can have all of the contact information for everybody that I work with in one place.
Mitchell, there's a few questions in the Q&A about social media, and I think we covered a lot of that stuff though.
Let's see.
Custom questionnaire. I guess the main question is the custom questionnaire from Sean.
Let's see. See one. Oh, okay, perfect. So Sean, to answer your question, we are planning for that questionnaire to be more customizable over time. Right now, this is kind of a template that it follows to be able to get as much general information as we can, but we are open to taking feedback. So if you have feedback about a way that you would like to see this customized in the future, we would love to get that information from you. At this point in time, the best way to be able to utilize that questionnaire is just using those questions that are provided. Some of those that may not be applicable, you can toggle off. But right now, we cannot create our own custom questions with maybe your own unique text.
Mitchell, do you have an example of a profile that has social media links attached to it? Nathaniel wanted to see what one looks like.
Yeah, let's go over, and the way that I would do it, you can see on my business account here. As a demo account, I don't have a lot of material on here from the public profile side. But as far as sharing something with social media, the social media is not something that we really link to on here to be able to go from. But say, for example, if I wanted to put one of my projects on social media, I can click on my project here and I can share project, and it's going to ask me where I want to be able to send that to. And the ones that we do sync with, you can also copy the link to this project to put into any other format that would be able to accept this link. But you can send this via email. You can post it to your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your Pinterest account, or you can use Messenger. These are the ways that I can share and post that on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to circle back on Nathaniel's question, it's social media links don't go on the profile. Projects from the profile go to some forms of your social media.
David had a question about labeling former clients. So if you have a former client, can you tag them as former client to refine the messaging going out?
What you would do for former clients is, let's go back to our managed folder here for clients themselves. So there are a few different ways that you could signify that. If you wanted to, maybe if you wanted to send a list to former clients that you no longer work with, what I would do is I would, in the same way that I did it before, I would create an email list, title it former clients, and I would select all of those that are former clients. So those are stored in one place. If they are clients that you no longer work with and you want to keep them out of that active clients list here in the system lists, what you can do, this gets a little bit more into the client management down the road. But if you went into manage and you clicked on clients here, you see how at the top we can search for clients as well. We can sort between all of our clients, active clients, and archived clients. And we can also show clients that are coming from leads as well. So maybe it's technically they're a prospective client, maybe they're a future client, not a client right now. We can keep that toggled on to be able to see that list. But say, for example, if God forbid, Tim McGraw didn't want to work with me anymore, what I could do is I could check that box and I could archive Tim McGraw. And so now he is no longer in my active list here. So if I refresh this page, Tim McGraw is going to drop out of there. But if I ever wanted to go back and look at those former clients or that active list, I would be able to come in here to the archived area and see those. Okay. I see people excited to have the link.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get that edited and shared out. Okay, we answered David. Link to recording, of course. Instagram integration, I'm not sure, but we can follow up. Tina, Ligia, pardon me. So, Mitchell, do you know about this one? Upload from Ligia, uploading client info into Houzz from QuickBooks. So it's like a client list that lives in QuickBooks, uploading that into Houzz Pro.
Yes, what you can do as far as getting that client's information into Houzz, and I know that, and I am by no means a QuickBooks expert, so I'll give this the best answer that I can here. And Likia, this might be a good question to put into that help area that we were talking about before, just so you can get connected with one of those QuickBooks product specialists for this one. But you can put in that submit a support ticket here, select your topic as QuickBooks Online, and they can answer this maybe a little more specifically, because I know the formatting of QuickBooks goes from the frame of reference of the client, and that's where all of the information funnels from. And Houzz Pro goes from the frame of reference of the project, and a client is tied to it. So I know that it's a little bit crisscross there. So to try and make it as concise of an answer as I possibly can, the way that I would get my client information from QuickBooks to be able to have that client contact information stored in here is to be able to, you can export that list from QuickBooks. So you can get your list of clients. If you're able to export that from QuickBooks, you would then come to, once you have that spreadsheet downloaded, you would then come back into clients here. You would click on options, and then you would import that client list. So you would just make sure that that export that you pulled from QuickBooks is it in the right order of columns to be able to upload into here, and that it is a CSV file. And then you'd be able to put it into here. Now, at that point, this is for the contact information of the client. If you had any previous project information related to that client, it does not pull or integrate in that way. It only goes from Houzz Pro to QuickBooks.